mean, what's going on here? And I'm sorry, but if Stephanie White's supposed to be this all-world coach, you're not going to show up to a game against the Phoenix Mercury?
Two short quotes, two totally different feelings, and now the fans are fired up. First, Stephanie White said losing Caitlin Clark was a blessing in disguise. Then, she said she was brokenhearted after two other players got hurt for the season. Same coach, same year, very different tone.
Clark, let it be known, she does not like this Stephanie White offense, how these players in the WNBA don't even know where to move or how to move or where to cut.
Now people are asking, was this just normal coach talk? Or did she really show how she feels about Caitlin Clark? But that's only the start of the story. It was a rough week for the Indiana Fever. Ari McDonald broke her foot. Sydney Colson tore her ACL. Both are done for the season. At the same time, Caitlin Clark was still out with leg injuries and no clear date to come back. That left the Fever with only 9 players ready to go against the Chicago Sky. Somehow, they still won by 22 points. It was a big win, but it also set the stage for quotes, reactions, and arguments that have kept fans talking ever since. And that's when one line from Stephanie White turned into a storm. During Caitlin Clark's timeout, the Fever started winning games.
Over 10 years that Caitlin Clark has something to do with that, man. They was 8-5 with Caitlin. At the end of the day, no matter how many games they win, they lost more games without Caitlin Clark playing. So everybody argument that Caitlin Clark is the Achilles heel, Caitlin Clark is this and that, your argument is obsolete, bro.
In fact, they went on a 5-game streak without her. When reporters asked Coach Stephanie White about it, she said, "While we don't like that she's out, sometimes it can be a blessing in disguise. Everybody else find themselves. No one is afraid to make the big play." To some fans, this sounded harmless. Just a coach trying to keep the team spirits up and praise the players who were stepping up. But to others, it felt wrong. How could losing your best player ever be a blessing? And why would a coach say that out loud? The phrase started spreading online, and with each retweet, the meaning seemed to shift from encouragement to insult. And then, just 2 days later, her tone completely changed. Right before the Fever's next game, Stephanie White was asked about Ari McDonald and Sydney Colson being out for the season. This time, her answer sounded completely different. She said she was brokenhearted for them, called them two really good people, and said they were integral to what we've been doing.
The Stephanie White offense compared to what she was doing at Iowa when she took over the world. Let's take a look.
At the college, it was very similar. All out attack, we're known to have 5 shooters on the floor at all time. We played with really good floor spacing, and at Iowa it was the same way. 4 people were on the floor that could shoot at the same time. Then obviously we usually played with a true post, but they rarely missed too. Mon never missed. Hannah Stolke was tremendous when I was there too, and even our backup post players.
She spoke with emotion, and you could tell she truly felt for them. Fans quickly put this clip side by side with her blessing in disguise comment about Clark. To many, the difference in tone was huge. Warm and caring for 2 role players, but more cold and practical when it came to the team's biggest star. Some people argued it proved a double standard. Others said it was just 2 very different situations. One was a short-term injury during a win streak, the other was season-ending losses. Either way, the internet was locked in on the contrast. But to really understand why this hit so hard, you have to look at the kind of player Caitlin Clark is. Every coach has a style. For Stephanie White, it's all about teamwork, moving the ball, sharing the scoring, and making sure everyone plays a role. That approach can work well, unless you have a player like Caitlin Clark. She's not just another piece in the system. She is the system. Her shooting, passing, and ability to draw defenders completely change how the game is played. This is where the clash starts. Some coaches build the system around the star, letting everything flow through them. Others try to fit the star into the system they already have. Critics say White leans toward the second option, which can limit Clark's impact. Supporters say she's just trying to keep the team balanced, so they're harder to predict. Either way, it's a fine line, and the blessing in disguise comment made that line even sharper in the eyes of fans. And if you look at the numbers, the story gets even more interesting. If you just look at the records, the picture isn't so simple. With Clark, the Fever have won 8 games and lost 5.
without Caitlin Clark. They had 19 in the one game and 16 in their previous game without CC even playing.
Without her, they've gone 9 wins and 9 losses. That's not a huge gap, but it's enough for people to argue both sides. Supporters of White say this proves the team can compete even when Clark isn't on the floor. Critics say the numbers only look close because of a short hot streak, and that Clark's impact is much bigger than wins and losses. During her absence, other players stepped up. Kelsey Mitchell scored in big moments. Sophie Cunningham brought energy and spacing. Lexi Hull had surprising bursts of offense. Aaliyah Boston took on more responsibility in the paint. And just recently, the Fever signed Odyssey Sims to fill in at guard while Clark recovers. On paper, it shows depth. On the court, it shows survival. But for many fans, it doesn't change the fact that Clark is the centerpiece, and treating her absence as a blessing still doesn't sit right. And that's why emotions are still running high. Caitlin Clark isn't just a star player. She's the reason many people buy tickets, watch games, and wear Fever gear. So when her own coach called her absence a blessing in disguise, it felt personal to a lot of fans. They saw it as downplaying the value of the player who's brought the most attention and money the team has had in years.
Post-game press conference, Caitlin Clark Stephanie White made sure to give out about Caitlin Clark not passing the ball to Dantas. Like, we've seen Damiris Dantas play. She can't shoot. Why would Caitlin Clark pass the ball on an all-time heater to Dantas?
Some argued that White was simply trying to keep the team's morale up during a tough stretch. Others felt that even if that was the goal, the choice of words showed a lack of appreciation for what Clark means, not just on the court, but to the whole franchise. And when fans compared that comment to the emotional, heartfelt words White used for McDonald and Colson, the difference hit even harder. It's not just about one quote anymore. It's about what people think it reveals, which is why the next part of this season could change everything. In the short term, the Fever have to keep pushing with the roster they have. Odyssey Sims is stepping in to help run the offense, and the rest of the team will keep carrying the load until Clark is ready to return. When she does come back, all eyes will be on how the team looks. Will the confidence built by the other players combine with Clark's star power? Or will there still be tension over how she's used? The answer could decide more than just this season. If the Fever click and start winning big with Clark leading the way, the blessing in disguise moment will fade into the background. But if the offense struggles or the chemistry feels off, that one quote will keep coming back. And so will questions about whether Stephanie White is the right coach for a generational talent like Caitlin Clark. For now, the Fever's path is simple on paper but tricky in reality. Win games, keep the locker room united, and prove that their best player makes them better, not just in theory, but where it counts most, on the scoreboard. Caitlin Clark is not just another name on the roster. She's a game changer in every sense. When she's on the court, defenses bend toward her.
Stephanie White has a clear conundrum on her hands, and she needs to figure out a solution to this problem before it's too little, too late. When Caitlin Clark was out with injury, Natasha Howard played well. Natasha Howard played well enough that kept us afloat along with Ari McDonald, along with Kelsey Mitchell, but Natasha Howard wasn't nearly as much of a hinder to the offense with
opponents send double teams, which leaves her teammates wide open for shots they wouldn't normally get. Her passing skills create easy baskets, and her shooting range stretches the floor so much that it completely changes how the game flows. The pace quickens, the spacing improves, and the whole offense looks more dangerous. But her value doesn't stop with basketball plays. Clark's presence sells out arenas. She's the reason the Fever are suddenly featured in national broadcasts. Merchandise with her name on it flies off the shelves. Sponsors line up to be connected to her brand. So when fans hear her absence being called a blessing in disguise,
why I can't stand Stephanie White as a basketball coach for Caitlin Clark. I don't think that Stephanie White is a bad coach.
It's not just about losing points or assists. It's about losing the spark that makes the Fever a must-watch team. Without her, the Fever are just another team fighting for wins. With her, they're a headline every night. In the age of social media, every word a public figure says can be recorded, clipped, and spread in seconds. Stephanie White's blessing in disguise line is a perfect example of how fast that can happen. She probably said it as a common sports phrase, something coaches have used for decades to mean, "We'll grow from this challenge." But once the clip hit the internet, it took on a life of its own. People didn't just share the quote. They shared it without the full question, without the tone, and without the context of a winning streak. Suddenly, it wasn't a line about team development. It was framed as a shot at Caitlin Clark. And in today's world, perception is often more powerful than reality.
Indiana Fever head coach Stephanie White remains fully confident in her team following Thursday's deflating loss. The veteran coach sent a clear message. It was a 35-point ass drubbing. It was Deliverance and Ned Beatty. Anybody seen that? Squeal like a pig? Yeah. The Phoenix Mercury bleeped the shit out of the Indiana Fever.
Even if White meant nothing negative, the story people believed was already out there, spreading faster than she could explain herself. That's the danger of being in the spotlight. You're not just coaching your team, you're also managing your public image in real time. It's one thing to read the quotes, it's another to watch the videos. In the broken-hearted clip about Ari McDonald and Sydney Colson, White's voice slows down. Her face shows concern. She uses words like "really good people" and "integral to what we've been doing." You can see the empathy. It feels personal, like she's talking about close friends. In the blessing in disguise clip, the energy is completely different. Her voice is quicker, more upbeat. She talks about players stepping up, finding themselves, and making big plays. It's focused on strategy and opportunity, not emotion. Both responses make sense in their own way. But side by side, the difference is clear. For fans already sensitive about how their star player is treated, the contrast feels like a signal, whether White meant it that way or not. Role players don't always get headlines, but they hold a team together in ways stats can't measure. Ari McDonald brought energy on defense, pushed the pace, and kept the bench unit strong. Sydney Colson added leadership, experience, and a calm presence during tense moments. Losing them hurts more than the box score shows. That's why White spoke with such emotion. She knows their impact goes beyond points per game. The problem is, when fans compare that heartfelt reaction to what she said about Clark, they feel like the value system is flipped. Clark's absence was framed as an opportunity, while losing role players was framed as a major blow. In the eyes of fans, it should be the other way around. Losing your superstar should be the bigger emotional hit. But from White's perspective, maybe she believed Clark's absence was temporary and those injuries were permanent, which shaped her tone. Still, perception often outweighs logic in sports debates. It didn't take long for this to explode online. Within hours, fans had clipped the two videos and posted them side by side on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Captions like "the double standard is real," and "this is why we need a new coach" started appearing. Some fans wrote long threads breaking down every word White said. Others made memes or reaction videos that spread even faster than the original quotes. Once something becomes a trending topic, it's almost impossible to stop it. Even people who never watched the Fever before were weighing in. Sports talk shows started picking it up. The conversation had moved beyond the Fever fan base. It was now part of a bigger discussion about how stars are treated in women's sports. And in that kind of public storm, the truth often gets buried under the loudest opinions. This isn't just a Fever problem, it's a classic sports debate. Do you build your strategy around your superstar? Or do you make sure the superstar fits into your strategy? Some coaches believe in star-first basketball. Everything runs through your best player, and you maximize their strengths at all costs. Others believe in system-first. Everyone plays their role. No one dominates the ball, and the team identity comes before any one player. With Clark, the choice seems obvious to many fans. Build the system around her. But White's coaching style leans towards spreading responsibility, even if it means Clark isn't the center of every play. Supporters of this approach say it keeps the team balanced and unpredictable. Critics say it wastes the unique talents of a generational player. The blessing in disguise moment just made that philosophical divide a lot more visible. We hear the public quotes, but we don't hear what's said in private. For all we know, White may be giving Clark full support behind closed doors. She may be praising her in team meetings, encouraging her in rehab, and planning the offense around her return. But fans can't see that. All they have to judge is what's said in interviews and shown on camera. That's why public tone matters so much. Players notice it too. When a coach sounds more emotional about certain teammates, it can change how the locker room feels. It can create small divides, even if that's not the coach's intention. Whether fair or not, once a public perception takes hold, it can creep into the team's own mindset if it's not addressed. Professional sports aren't just about winning games. They're about making money. Caitlin Clark is the Fever's biggest draw. She's the reason attendance has skyrocketed. She's the reason jerseys are selling out. She's the reason national TV networks are putting more Fever games on prime time. Every time she plays, the franchise's value goes up. That's why comments about her absence carry more weight. Even if White meant it purely in a basketball sense, it can sound careless from a business point of view. If your most valuable asset is unavailable, you'd expect the reaction to be all concern and urgency, not silver linings. Because for the front office, sponsors, and even league officials, Clark's presence is directly tied to revenue. This situation doesn't end with a quote, it ends with results. If Clark returns and the Fever start winning big, the controversy will fade quickly. Winning covers a lot of cracks. But if the team struggles, fans will go back to this moment as proof that the coach never valued Clark enough. That could lead to louder calls for change in the offseason, or even sooner. The next stretch of games is huge. It's not just about making the playoffs. It's about proving that Clark and White can succeed together. If they do, the narrative flips from drama to redemption. If they don't, this might be remembered as the moment the partnership started to break. Sometimes, the difference between a PR nightmare and a non-story is just a few words. White could have easily said, "We hate not having Caitlin, but I'm proud of how the rest of the team is stepping up." That keeps the positive message about other players, without implying that losing Clark is good in any way. Fans aren't unreasonable. They know a team can grow during tough stretches, but they also expect their coach to show the same public support for their star as they do for other players. A small change in phrasing could have protected that perception, avoided the storm, and kept the focus on the team's success instead of the controversy.